Hey guys, welcome. In this video here, I'm going to be sharing with you some life-changing advice for how to be more forgiving of yourself, of other people, and of reality as a whole. So if you want to become more understanding and accepting of yourself and of life, then I'm going to be giving you some amazing tips. This here really is the main benefit that I've gotten from my spiritual journey. I used to be someone who was extremely harsh and strict with myself. I remember when I was a kid and I would play soccer, I was so hard on myself that whenever I would make a mistake and I was on the field, I would swear at myself. I'd say, fuck, shit, I'd get so mad. I'd start punching myself in the arm. And my coach got so bad is that my coach actually had to pull me aside and say, Adam, if you make a mistake, don't beat yourself up so much. It's okay. I had such high standards for myself that when I didn't meet my standards, I would beat myself up. And this wasn't just true in soccer. This was true in every single area of my life, in my grades at school, in my interactions with other people, with girls, or even just with my friends, with just every part of my life. I thought that I needed to be perfect. And when I wasn't perfect, I would be my own worst critic. But ever since I started practicing meditation, and I've been on over 12 meditation retreats, and I've just kind of devoted all of my life energy into spiritual practice over the last 6 years, been meditating every single day. This has completely rewired the way that I experience my life. I am so happy and proud to say that I have become so loving and accepting towards myself and towards other people that now I'm actually free to fully enjoy the beauty and intelligence of my life experience. See, when you're always judging and criticizing yourself, other people, and reality for being imperfect, and you want reality to be a different way than it is in truth, you want reality to be different, you can't forgive reality for being imperfect, then you can't fully enjoy your life. You're always stuck in judgment and criticism. You can't see the inherent beauty within imperfection. So normally when we're born, let's start at the very beginning, okay? How did we get so judgmental of ourselves? How did I get like this? When we're born, we need to survive. And normally for me, I got a lot of love and validation from my parents and even from my teachers and from society. I got a lot of love and validation for being perfect, or for being the golden boy, or the star child. Or basically, whenever I would behave in a way that was desirable for other people, I would get rewarded with love and attention. But whenever I would do something that other people didn't like, then I would get punished with either they would get angry at me or they would withdraw their love and attention from me. So I was conditioned from a young age, and every single person has had this happen to them. I was conditioned from a young age where if I don't act in a perfect way, then I will not be loved. And this is because our life, the ego needs to survive. And the way that the ego survives in this temporary life experience is by putting conditions on life. Life needs to be a certain way so that I can survive. So for example, just even from an evolutionary perspective, if I'm hunting food and I have a bow and arrow and I'm in the jungle and I'm hunting game and I miss my shot, I have one shot to kill the deer, I miss my shot, the arrow flies and hits a tree and the deer runs away, now my whole tribe might starve to death because I missed out on my opportunity to get food. I fucked up, right? I'm imperfect. So whenever we fuck up in our lives, this is a great time for us to practice forgiveness and self-acceptance. Now keep in mind, with life or death situations, we're not in these life or death situations where if we miss a shot, then our whole tribe is going to starve to death. Normally, this is the same patterning and conditioning that we absorb from our ancestors and from past versions of ourselves as well. So the ego wants life to be perfect. The ego needs life to be a specific way to maximize our comfort and to maximize the ease of survival. Okay? Now, comfort and survival are good things. However, what happens, especially in our Western society, is that our ego will take it too far, where now we're becoming judgmental and critical of every single area of our life, even when it's not necessary. Like, we'll judge what another person is wearing when we're walking down the street, or somebody will hurt us and we won't be able to forgive them, or maybe we'll mess up in some way and we won't be able to forgive ourselves. This is when meditation practice comes in, because learning how to forgive yourself really is one of the major keys to living a happy and fulfilled life. So we know why we are so critical and judgmental of ourselves, but how do we forgive ourselves? Well, the first step actually is understanding and acceptance. See, that's why I spent the last few minutes talking about why are we so judgmental? Because it's one thing to say you should stop judging yourself, but it's a completely different thing to actually understand, why does judgment exist? What is judgment? What is the source of judgment? Why do we judge ourselves? See, once you understand why, now you are halfway there in the process of forgiving yourself. Forgiveness is actually synonymous with understanding and acceptance. And understanding comes from direct consciousness and awareness. If you want to understand life and how it works, step one is you need to observe life with neutrality, like a scientist. See, the ego mind does not like to observe life neutrally because you have skin in the game. Whenever something happens that you don't like, a circumstance or an unfavorable scenario occurs, you judge it, and you don't take it in neutrally. You actually take it in a biased way, where you're angry at life, or you're angry at yourself, you're angry at experience. And when you're biased, when your acceptance is conditional, when you have this kind of distorting lens, see, when you're selfish and you're judging reality and you're needy, you need reality to be a certain way so that you can be happy. Your happiness is conditional. It depends on an external circumstance. When you're in this egotistical state of consciousness, when you forget that really true happiness is just stillness. Your happiness doesn't depend on an external circumstance. It's just stillness. You can be still in any moment. And that's what you want. That's bliss. When you forget that, and you're kind of lost in the dream of life, and you're trying to control and manipulate your circumstances, We get angry at life and we don't observe life neutrally. We observe it from a biased perspective. And this prevents us from understanding life. And if you don't understand life, you can't forgive life. You can't forgive yourself. You can't forgive other people. So for example, if someone murders your family, I know that's like the most terrible thing ever, right? Like, Adam, really? Someone murders my family? How the fuck am I going to forgive that person if they murder my entire family in cold blood? Well, using these extreme examples actually helps. If you were able to forgive that person, the way you would do it is by observing that person neutrally, without selfish attachment. So normally, our mind will distort reality because we are attached to life. I'm attached to my family. I love my family because my family gives me support and validation. If you kill my family, that makes it harder for me to live a happy life. I'm attached to my family. That's why I hate the person who murders my entire family, and I find it impossible to forgive them. But if I can sit in stillness for 30 minutes, and I can take myself out of my own selfish perspective and put myself in the shoes of the murderer, then I can really start to understand that person's motivations. Maybe, what if you could put yourself in that person's shoes so fully and completely with a lack of bias? You can live that person's entire lifetime, the way they were born, the way they were raised, the way they went to school, their family situation, all of the hardships and pleasures and joys that they've experienced in their life. And you live through their entire lifetime by stepping out of your own shoes, your own selfish perspective, and moving yourself into their perspective, and trying to understand, why would you murder my family? Why would you murder another person? What kind of suffering and pain do you need to be going through in order to take such a terrible action? People who cause suffering to other people are suffering themselves deeply. And this is true for you as well. One thing that I've struggled with a lot in my life is whenever I cause suffering to another person, maybe I yell at them or I hit them. More so when I was younger, I would hit people, but now sometimes I get mad, I blow up, and I yell at my girlfriend especially. I try not to, but it's hard. I find it hard sometimes to forgive myself because I don't want to cause suffering to other people. So when I do, I don't know how to process that. So a good story I always think of is that when Jesus was hanging on the cross and the entire village was crucifying him and spitting on him and making fun of him, they nailed him to a cross. He said famously, "Father, please forgive them, for they know not what they do." This is the key insight here. Jesus was able to put himself in the other people's shoes and to understand they don't know what they're doing. They don't know any better. They don't know how to not cause suffering to other people. They're not conscious that reality is oneness. They don't feel love and bliss in their heart that comes from connection and union with the source of life. They're disconnected from life and they're suffering greatly, great suffering. And they don't know any better. So Jesus says, Father, who is one with him. So Jesus asks the Father to forgive them, but the Father is him. The Father and I are one. Jesus says, God, please forgive them, for they know not what they do. And what he's saying here is he's really talking to himself. And he's saying, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Imagine hanging from a fucking cross with nails in your hands, and everyone's spitting on you and making fun of you, and still you forgive them. Because you understand that they don't know any better and they're doing the best they can with what they got. The same way that person that murders your entire family, if you lived through their entire lifetime, you would have done the same thing. You don't know any better. Everyone is doing the very best they can to be happy with what they got, with the circumstances that they've been given. The only way to forgive another person is to cultivate the ability to observe reality neutrally. So the main thing to take away from this video is that if you want to be more forgiving of yourself and of other people and of reality as a whole, practice stepping out of your own selfish, biased perspective and observe reality neutrally, like a scientist. So for example, when you go and you look at nature, right? I'm in a really beautiful nature spot. When I go and I look at a leaf, right? I don't judge this leaf as being good or bad. I just observe the fact that it exists with no bias. I observe it. Once you remove the distorting lens of egotistical attachment, then you're actually free to understand reality deeply, because it's almost like you've kind of cleansed your perception. It's like you wipe the specks off of your vision and you can actually see more clearly. Dude, do an experiment. You know, you can actually see more clearly and more fully when you're not in an egotistical state of chasing after something specific. Because if I was going to go look at this leaf with a personal selfish agenda, where I need to get something from this leaf. Maybe I need this leaf to do a school project. I won't actually be able to look at this leaf impartially, but I'll only look at this leaf based on what this leaf can do for me, what it will give me. So the ego actually distorts reality, and you're only able to see little bits and pieces of the truth when you're not detached. So the key is to detach from needing something and just practice observing life without an agenda. This is the key. The way I like to do this is just to go in nature and just observe what's going on here, like a scientist. This helps me observe neutrally. So imagine I was walking through the forest and there was a spiky branch that rubbed up against me and poked me. See, I might get angry at the branch because now my ego's involved. Now this hurt me, right? This branch hurt me. So now I might get angry at the branch. Why does that stupid branch exist? What a dumb branch, right? We judge the branch, we get angry at the branch. But what if we can actually take a neutral, unbiased perspective? What if we think, what is this branch? Why does it exist? Why does this branch need to have spikes? How does the branch's spikes actually benefit its survival agenda? Instead of only thinking about my own survival agenda, that I don't like being poked by spiky branches, put yourself in the other's shoes. In this case, it's a branch. Put yourself in the branch's perspective. Why does the branch need to have spikes? Well, it actually helps them defend themselves against predators. It helps them defend against being eaten by rabbits and other animals that eat the branches. So the branch actually evolved spikes to defend itself and to protect itself. And it doesn't know any better, right? See, this is kind of an extreme example, right? Like, obviously you're not going to get angry at a branch. It's not the branch's fault that it has spikes. But then in the same way, why would you get mad at someone who is a criminal. It's the same thing. That criminal is acting out of their own survival agenda. They're defending themselves. They're acting out of fear, out of lack. They have no choice but to commit crime in many cases just because they don't know any better in their mind. They don't see any other option. If they were able to see another option, they would have taken the other option. But just the fact that they committed the crime means that they were actually trapped in their own mental prison. And this is where compassion comes in. When we practice meditation, we see how often we get stuck and trapped in our own mental prisons. And when you see yourself hurting other people, and you see yourself unable to let go of your cravings, or you just observe yourself being imperfect, then you start to understand yourself. Why is it so difficult for me to let go of these cravings? Why do I blow up so quickly and get angry at other people? Where in my life have I committed crimes as well, and why did I do it? What motivated me to do that? See, when you start observing life neutrally, just with the intention to understand, out of pure curiosity. See, why do I come out to nature and observe the plants and the trees? You know why? Because it's interesting. It interests me. I actually like it. It's cool for me to come look at reality. I love looking at the way everything is structured. Like check out this yellow flower here. Let's try and zoom in. I can't get it to focus. Sorry guys, but like I just like looking at how reality structures itself in nature because I'm curious. I just want to know. I just want to go understand how it works. And the reason why is because it fascinates me. So another thing that fascinates me is, how does my own mind work? How does my psychology work? How do humans work? How does human psychology work? So when we do self-actualization, a big part of it is actually reading books and observing ourselves, trying to understand life, not trying to manipulate and control life, but first realizing that if you want to create a better life for yourself and for other people, you want to be happier, you want to have a better business, a better relationship, a better health, more spiritual connection to life, you want to be more authentic, you want to align your life to something that is aligned with your heart. That's what you want from your life. Step one, understand how life works by observing life neutrally, and also by absorbing information from other people who have done the same. So spiritual masters, psychologists, scientists, historians. We're talking about the truth here. We want to understand what is the truth of life. This is where forgiveness comes from. This is how you become accepting. This is how you become a compassionate human being, by understanding that other people are imperfect in the same way that I'm imperfect. When someone acts in an imperfect way, then I understand because I've been there before. I've observed myself doing the same things that you're doing now, and I forgive you. So that's how you be more understanding and forgiving of yourself, of life, and all of reality. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is I've used this word imperfect in this video. How do you forgive yourself for being imperfect? But when you observe neutrally, and you're not observing from an egotistical perspective, but actually from a neutral perspective, otherwise known as God's perspective, because God is the formless source of reality. God has no specific selfish agenda. God's agenda is the well-being of all. And God is actually executing this agenda flawlessly, because nothing limits God. God is the infinite source of being. So if God wants everyone to be happy and healthy, then you might be wondering, Adam, but why is there war in the world? Why is there suffering? Why do I suffer? If God wants me to be happy and healthy, and you're saying that God is executing its agenda flawlessly, why is there suffering? So when you move out of the egotistical lens of observing life, and you kind of look at life neutrally, and you take higher and higher perspectives, you start asking yourself the question, next time something imperfect happens to you, next time you're sitting in traffic, ask yourself, what is the positive to this situation? How is this situation actually helping me be happy and healthy? So even, for example, when I experience a very negative emotion, could be like fear. If I experience very deep fear in my life, you can actually use that as a positive. You can say, well, this fear is actually a very good thing because, first of all, it's protecting me from harm. It's helping me survive. And that's very loving, actually, because now I'm alive. I'm 22 years old. I made it through 22 years of life on Earth, mostly thanks to me being afraid, so that when I cross the street, I look both ways because I don't want to get hit by a car, right? So fear is a good thing. It's actually coming from love. And second of all, this fear, I can use this as a guidepost or as an indicator that in many cases I'm moving in the wrong direction in my life. So if I'm making a decision, like a big life decision, and I feel fearful about this decision, then that often means that this might not be the right direction for you to move, right? And then you can actually use the fear as contrast, right? So you can hold two options in your mind. One path makes you feel calm and relaxed and peaceful, and it makes you feel full of love, makes you feel excited. But then another path might make you feel scared and lacking and afraid. So you can use fear as a contrast. Fear is just a guidepost. God, your heart, is telling you what path to take. So listen to your feelings. This is a whole nother video topic, but your feelings will tell you what is good for you. So we're really, what we're doing here on this channel is we're really trying to understand the ingenious design of reality. That is most deeply what we're interested in doing here on this channel. This is how you actually get the full life experience. This is the spiritual path. We want to understand life and how it works. Not just an intellectual, psychological understanding, but we actually want to gain a direct experience. So you actually understand directly. When you observe an ant walking on the floor, you can understand how ants work just by observing it. You don't even need to think about it. You can just observe it directly. When you can understand life deeply by absorbing lots of information, intellectually and experientially as well, and being open to experience, having a learner's attitude to life. I'm learning. Everything I do, I'm learning. When I'm walking, I'm driving to work, I'm learning. When I'm walking outside, I'm learning. When I'm talking to my family, I'm always learning, trying to learn what is life, how does it work. This is really how you become a highly developed human being. And this is really how you tap into the highest levels of fulfillment and enjoyment in your life. Because once you understand life deeply and how it works, then you can surrender to life. Because you see the visionary genius and the intelligent design. This is what I'm looking at now, guys. How beautiful is that? Talk about intelligent design. When you understand how life works, you can surrender to it. You can trust life. You see the fucking beautiful flowers grow out of the floor, and you're like, okay, I trust the plan. But I'm not talking about trusting the plan blindly on faith. I'm talking about actually being intelligent enough so that you can actually see into God's mind You can actually understand, why did God design reality to be this way? So the next time you criticize someone else for being imperfect, or you criticize reality for being imperfect, or you criticize yourself for being imperfect, ask yourself the question, why is reality designed this way? Did God make a mistake? Or maybe you're looking at the situation from a biased, selfish perspective. All right, guys, that's all I have to say here. If you're interested in one-on-one awakening coaching, I actually just opened up a new program where I'm helping people awaken to their true nature, surrender to life, acceptance, forgiveness, meditation. We talk about all this stuff in my one-on-one coaching program. If you're interested in that, you can book a call with me. Even just having a 45-minute call with me, even if we decide not to work together, it can be very transformative for you. It can help you get a lot of clarity about a lot of the things you're struggling with in your life, and will really help you along your spiritual path of awakening.